loved ones. Our hospice team provides an individualized program of physical, emotional, spiritual, and practical care so your loved one is comfortable and not in pain. At Mary T. Hospice, we understand that choosing the right hospice care provider can be overwhelming, but we're here to assist you. Learn more today at marytinc.com.
Would you let animals pick your insurance? Do you really need to experience mayhem to get the best rates? Or how about a celebrity quarterback or fake university saving you money? There's a lot of marketing stunts when it comes to insurance, but what you really need is someone looking out for you. Call Array Insurance, and they will work hard to find you the best insurance coverage and rates. So avoid gimmicks and call Cheryl at Array, 763-504-3067 or arrayinsurance.com. Array Insurance, working hard for you.
Have you read or listened to any good mysteries lately? Would you like to know more about the people who write them? Listen to Masters of Mystery on KM 950 Saturday, September 13th at 9 p.m. as host Rob Young converses with John Gaspard, writer of magic-filled mysteries, and professional actor turned audiobook narrator Jim Cunningham as they discuss Gaspard's novels and their journey from written word to audiobook.
Turn to Auto Technical with your vehicle donation. We have families waiting for a car. You know, over 85% of unemployed are successful in finding and keeping a job if they have dependable transportation. A car plus a job equals a life changed. 612-919-5526. We have families waiting for a car. 919-5526 or autotech.org.
McNeil Show. So once again, the breaking news as we're talking here right now, Turning Point USA's Charlie Kirk was at Utah Valley University. He was speaking on his tour and got shot in the neck. Officials from Turning Point have actually come out and said that he was shot in the neck. It doesn't look good. He's in the hospital right now, said that Marina Minas told CBS News law enforcement confirmed the Associated Press that 31 was taken to the hospital in critical condition. Like I said, don't watch that video. That is a very disturbing video. I will say that. Now we also have confirmation that 3 students were shot by an active shooter at a Colorado high school as we speak. And you can't make it up. This headline popped up as well. Florida appeals court on Wednesday declared unconstitutional a state law banning open carry of firearms, calling the law incompatible with the Second Amendment right to bear arms. The First District Court of Appeal issued its ruling basically saying that you can carry a gun anywhere in Florida. It's insanity. I mean, that's really what this is. This is becoming this gun everywhere is insanity. And no, I don't know what else to say about it. I mean, no one deserves to die like this way. Life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness, those 3 things are incumbent on not being shot and not being shot, whether that's at a university or in a high school or in a nightclub or on the Vegas Strip or in a movie theater, at church, in a school. It's the guns. It's the guns. And until we have sanity ring in and say, it's the guns, and we need to, kind of revisit the Second Amendment and realize that this is not the world that the founding fathers imagined in any capacity. Until that happens, I don't know. There's no way you're going to stop this carnage. It just is not. It's not something that's going to stop, and it's only going to get worse and worse and worse. So I'll keep you up to date on this. And Patrick, if you could please as well, keep an eye on this. If you do get breaking news on this, let me know. I will say this as well. On already a busy news day, Poland and NATO forces shot down more than a dozen Russian drones that repeatedly violated the Polish airspace late Tuesday and early Wednesday. This according to Polish officials. European and NATO leaders condemned the incident as one of the most serious escalations by Moscow since its unprovoked invasion of Ukraine. In response to the incident, Polish Prime Minister Donald Tusk took a rare step of invoking NATO's Treaty Article 4, calling for consultations among the alliance. Matthew Whitaker, the U.S. ambassador to NATO, said in a post, "We stand by our NATO allies in the face of these airspace violations. We'll defend every inch of NATO territory." Poland's military said that at 7:42 local time, this is 7:42 a.m. local time, in the middle of the night for most of us, that the Polish and allied responses to violations of Polish airspace had concluded, but the search for fallen drones was still ongoing. Ground-based air defense and radar reconnaissance systems returned standard operation activities per the Post. It thanked NATO Air Command and the Royal Netherlands Air Force, which provided F-35 fighters, for helping in the response. The Polish military also said the airspace violation was an act of aggression that poses a real threat to the safety of our citizens. NATO chief Mark Rutte, R-U-T-T-E, told reporters Wednesday full assessment of the incident is ongoing. What is clear, though, is that the violation last night is not an isolated incident. Rutte also expressed confidence NATO's counter-drone defenses last night showed we were able to defend every inch of NATO territory, including, of course, its airspace. Representative Joe Wilson, the Republican from South Carolina, the senior member of the House Foreign Affairs Committee, accused Russia of attacking Poland less than a week after Trump hosted Polish President Karol Nawrocki, the White House at the White House. "This is an act of war, and we are grateful to NATO allies for their swift response to a war criminal Putin's continued unprovoked aggression against free and productive nations. I urge Trump to respond with mandatory sanctions that will bankrupt the Russian war machine and arm Ukraine with weapons capable of striking Russia." This is a Republican. This is Wilson. Remember that was the "you lie," the guy to President Obama? That's him. Putin is no longer content on losing in Ukraine while bombing mothers and babies. He's now directly testing our resolve as a NATO territory. Senator Chris Murphy, the Democrat from Connecticut, top Democrat on the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, said that he hadn't been briefed on the matter, but it would be incredibly serious if there were Russian aerial assets flying over any NATO country. Russia's defense minister said his drones were not intentionally dispatched on the Polish airspace, which is such a load of crap. It's hard to even comprehend. Because this wasn't like one drone that got out of the way. And it wasn't like it was within a few miles of the Polish border with another country. These were drones. These were multiple drones deep into Polish territory. Deep into Polish territory. They clearly were pushing this. The Russians said, "We're ready to hold consultations with the Polish Ministry of Defense on this issue." Now you're dealing with NATO now, you jackasses. I will say two top former Trump officials from his first administration sounded the alarm after Russia attacked Poland Tuesday night, as several critics assailed the president for years of insisting Putin would never have dared attack Ukraine if he were in office. Remember that? Yeah. Or if I was in office, he would have never attacked Ukraine. Well, here he is. He's attacking one of our allies in Poland. Russia launched more than 24 drones into Poland. Once again, like I said, it's idea that this was one or two. No, this was indeed a definitive airspace, violation by Russia with intent. Prompted NATO forces to launch warplanes against the incursion. The attack occurred as Trump dined at the restaurant last night with Secretary of State and the Secretary of Defense being besieged by protesters caught on camera. I will say, I mean, this whole notion that Trump is going to Trump being in office is going to stop these people. It clearly is not stopping Russia, who is, ramping up things in Ukraine, as well as now testing Poland. And trust me, Vlad Putin's whole goal has been to take back Eastern Europe into the Russian fold. They want all those countries back. They don't want any. That's money for him, and it's a heist. I mean, it really is. I mean, he just basically wants these countries back so he can take all the resources and money out of them, put it in their pocket, and he doesn't care. But we have to go as well and look at Israel firing on Qatar and going after Hamas officials there at peace negotiations. You do have between Israel and Russia two leaders who do not care about, because once again, this attack was one of our allies in the Middle East. That's a close ally of the United States. And yeah, they clearly are thumbing their nose at Trump and saying, indeed, that it does not matter, what he wants, that they're not going to do anything with that. Once again, the breaking news, Charlie Kirk at Turning Point USA has been shot. No other updates so far. Jeff Stein, when we come back, it's the Matt McNeil Show.
Come on, it's true. Work is almost bearable when the Stephanie Miller Show is on. AM 950 KTNF, St. Louis Park, Minneapolis, St. Paul, the progressive voice of Minnesota.
Attention event planners and festival organizers. This is Frank Brown from Minuteman Press Uptown, your union print shop partner for your next event. We're here to check items off your list and make your event the talk of the town. From stunning banners and eye-catching signage to programs, tickets, and name badges, we print everything. Get promotional products at prices that let you load up on merch and fill those swag bags. Make your event unforgettable with Minuteman Uptown. Visit us at mpuptown.com.
Overwhelmed trying to make sense of Medicare? As a licensed advisor, I can help you determine your healthcare needs and evaluate your options. I'm Harvey Pearl of Pearl & Company, and I want you to have the peace of mind knowing you have the best coverage available. You deserve an advocate you can trust and coverage you can rely on. And there's no fee, ever. Annual enrollment is October 15th through December 7th. Find me at pearlsofwisdom.com. That's PERLES of wisdom.com. So we can strategize together.
Greg Bakken here. Like you, I love good, fresh, delicious food. So I want to tell you about this treasure in Roseville called Maverick's Real Roast Beef. Maverick's has the best roast beef sandwiches I've ever had. Made fresh, every order. Add fries or onion rings dropped in the fryer when ordered, and you have a winning combination. Maverick's Real Roast Beef has a lot more than roast beef, so check out their website, mavericksbeef.com, or check out their restaurant on Lexington in Roseville.
When was the last time you had your roof inspected for extreme weather and hail damage? This is Chad, owner of AM 950, to talk about the exterior construction company I trust, Snap Construction. If you've noticed new roofing projects in your neighborhood, your home was likely hit by hail last summer and experienced damage. Snap Construction is helping homeowners like you, and they're the roofing specialists I trust. They are the most well-reviewed contractor in the Twin Cities and have a ton of positive customer reviews from homeowners just like you. Even better, Snap Construction's installations are backed by a lifetime warranty, so you know you're dealing with a qualified roofing expert. You want to work with a company that will be here for a long time after the work is done. Snap Construction has handled thousands of claims and will help you through the process. Do yourself a favor and get a free roofing inspection so you have the facts and peace of mind you deserve. Call Snap Construction today at 612-333-SNAP. That's 612-333-SNAP. Or visit snapconstruction.com.
With your AM 950 weather, I'm Brett Johnson. Look for partly cloudy skies today with a high near 73. Tonight, clear with a low around 57. And Thursday, sunny with a high around 78. The Great Wall Restaurant specializes in unforgettable Szechuan and Mandarin dishes like fish fillet and ginger sauce and beef and broccoli. Dine in or take out at 4515 France Avenue South. Find more details at greatwallrestaurant.us. Again, that's greatwallrestaurant.us.
AM 950 KTN up St. Louis Park, Minneapolis, St. Paul.
Jeff. Jeff. J-E-F-F Jeff. J-E-F-F Jeff. J-E-F-F Jeff.
Before I get to Jeff here, I just want to make sure I mention one thing, a little housekeeping here. I am not going to be here tomorrow or on Friday. I believe we have Mike McEntee in here tomorrow. We have also got Bruce Klopfleisch in on Friday. I'm actually going to be on the air, though, because I'm heading down to Chicago, and I'm going to be part of Patty Vasquez's show tomorrow. So when you listen to the Patty Vasquez show tomorrow evening at 9 o'clock, I'll be on co-hosting with her for that entire hour. So you'll hear me there. But once again, Mike McEntee in for me tomorrow, and then Bruce Klopfleisch coming in for me on Friday. Jeff Stein is our national and presidential expert, noted author. You can find his books at your favorite book retailer, the Iowa Business Report, the Iowa Politics Report. Come to us from KXEL Cedar Falls, Waterloo, where he is based, and he's kind enough to join us on what is a breaking news day so far. And just Jeff, just go over what we got right now. He'd been at Charlie Kirk was at a Utah Valley University. He was speaking as part of his tour. He was shot in the neck. It is, once again, I want to say to everyone out there, it's pretty gruesome. Do not watch that video, period. I'm going to highly recommend that. Apparently there is, Patrick, did you say the Speaker of the Utah House?
Yes, there was something on the Utah Speaker of the House stated Kirk is dead, but I cannot find independent confirmation of that.
Also, there is no suspect in custody at this point. A spokesperson for the Utah Valley University retracted an earlier claim that the suspect was in custody. The shooting happened apparently from 200 yards away. It sounds like it was a shot from a building, and obviously chaos ensued. I will say I will be surprised, Jeff, if from the nature of the shot, I will be surprised if Charlie Kirk does survive this. It was a pretty lethal hit, it looks like. It will be a miracle, definitely, if he does survive this. Once again, as I mentioned as we started this, same time, 3 shot in a Colorado high school, Evergreen High School in Colorado, while in Florida right now, the appeals court has basically said, nope, you cannot have bans on carry and conceal or carry laws in Florida. So guns are going to be everywhere in Florida, at least to that appeals ruling. Yeah, we'll start with the Charlie Kirk story. Any thoughts that you have as of right now on this?
I've not seen the video. I saw where the frame was frozen, and I did talk to somebody who saw it and said it is Kennedy-esque, and I think we all know what that means.
Yes.
I don't believe any of the reporting that I see right now because so much of it is crazy. Someone's in custody, right? Okay, and we see police with a guy on the ground. Okay, I assume that's the person in custody, but I guess not. Then there's a witness who says that the shooter was apprehended and said, "I do it again." Well, it is probably all fiction, every bit of it. All right. What we do know is that a college campus, and I taught at college campuses for 25 years. I always thought the college campus was where you went for a free exchange of ideas. And I don't recognize college campuses. Nobody with any viewpoint should be assassinated in front of however many had gathered. Quite a crowd, right?
Anywhere. I mean, let's be honest, anywhere. This is a whole idea. No, I mean, and as a matter of fact, it was interesting. There was a story earlier I was thinking about talking about today where college students were saying they don't want these provocateurs, regardless of which side of the aisle they come from, on the college campuses. They don't, it's kind of one of these things that it's to a point, I think it's a little bit of the crossfire effect, which is, you used to have a guy on, I designed one of the NASA rockets. Here's a guy over here that basically founded a cookie store that's now nationwide, and they'd have these people on. And now it seems like the majority of the people that come to speak on college campuses now are either far left, far right, and these students are basically like, okay, this is not good for us. And whether it is, I mean, that being said, you shouldn't be shooting people regardless, any way, shape, or form, regardless of how we got to this point. But it is kind of it's just it's the guns.
Well, and again, the reason why I said on a college campus, I could have said, as we did a few weeks ago, a church, right? There are certain places you go where you should feel safe. A church is one of them. To have an open and free exchange of ideas, as opposed to, and this is now the acceleration, right? It used to be for some of these things, and I believe Mr. Kirk was part of it, where folks would mob the building and not let anyone in, preventing him from going in to speak or preventing people from listening. Well, don't go, right? But this now takes it to a new level. And the fact that we are normalizing violence to settle political disagreements. and I'm broader than guns, right? I mean, knives, I don't care what it is. The fact that I'm sorry.
But it's the same thing with Mangione when the guy shot the United Health Group guy.
Yeah.
Okay. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that you can't be upset about something, but when we get to the point where I'm going to settle my scores, my grievances with a gun, this is a failure of us as a society, because this is just, we should not have this as our society's option.
And when you normalize that as a response, and when I say normalize, I mean it because it happens so much. And okay, I don't, if you're the parent of kids, college age kids, I assume you're paying tuition or kids are in school. I can't keep track. Yes. I mean, your kids are growing like weeds. But they ought to be able to go to an event on campus of any kind.
Yeah.
I mean, again, I keep going back to that, and maybe it's because I spent so much time at a college campus, but this is just striking. And let's assume that the perpetrator was convinced that ridding the world of Charlie Kirk was a good thing. Okay, fine. Do you really think that's going to stop the message, the movement? I mean, do you think this might have the opposite? So in other words, in your twisted mind, if you're thinking, if I stop the speaker, well, that'll all go away. It'll get redoubled in his memory. So you're not serving, but again, I'm trying to be rational, and these are irrational acts.
Well, and we also should be very careful here, because as you said, there are pictures of people on the ground. Well, now they're saying, no, he was shot from a building. So any of those pictures of a person on the ground outside of a building are not legitimate. That is not the arrestee. That might have been police just trying to find out what just happened with the case. But let's go back to Trump's shooting in Pennsylvania. We've got to also be very careful about who we think might have done this. We don't know. Mm-hmm. And in that case, it was a young man who had been indoctrinated into extreme far right politics, trying to basically, and then seduced into this culture of mass shooters where they were trying to make the name for themselves, which has been something that has, over the history of assassinations, been something there, that I will make a name for myself this way. And that's the person who took the shot at Trump and killed the other person at the rally. Mm-hmm. We don't know anything. And it's, yes, the easiest thing in the world is to say, well, clearly this is some liberal who's upset. We don't know. No. And it could be, the argument be some right-wing guy saying, if Charlie Kirk gets shot, then we could start a war, that race war that some of these people want to have started. We don't know. And so the idea of the misinformation that gets out, I mean, here's where this gets really crazy, is you mentioned the misinformation. I remember in the hours after Trump was shot at that rally, mm-hmm. the narrative was, this was liberals. It was, every label, even liberal, Antifa, pro-abortion, pro-Palestine, person that was there, and people were running with that as an actual fact before they knew what was going on, because they wanted, I mean, that is the sick element of this desire by people to want to be somebody of some nature. And by the way, can I just say, it's the guns. Charlie Kirk, what happened to Trump, what happens with the United Health Group, it happens, and he's shooting that just happened in Colorado in schools. It's the guns. That's the conversation we should be having, as opposed to just trying to find a villain to meet the narrative you want it to be.
The only reason why I always take a deep breath when you say it's the guns is because it's not just the guns. Okay. Now, obviously, you cannot do mortal harm to a person from 200 yards away with a pocket knife. Okay. So obviously the manner of distribution of harm makes a difference. Absolutely. Not arguing that at all. The fact that we are sitting here and we are saying with straight faces, as moderately intelligent human beings who talk on a regular basis, the fact that we're saying it might be just as likely someone who was anti-Kirk doing the shooting as someone who was pro-Kirk doing the shooting, That's messed up.
Mm-hmm.
And it's true. I mean, the fact that we're having that conversation because it could be the case, that's messed up.
And by the way, can I just one thing I'll piggyback
Sure.
on that.
Mhm.
When we used to have shootings, there have been shootings over the years, like the Texas State Deposit, the tower there at one of the Texas universities and stuff.
Mhm.
A lot of times there was this fairly repetitive shooter profile. A lot of times a veteran with undiagnosed PTSD, which I mean they really didn't even diagnose back in these when these are happening. And that was the case. And you're right. We've gotten to the point where we don't know what's going on. Here's where I'm going to come back.
Let me just interrupt.
Yeah.
President Trump has posted that Mr. Kirk is dead.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I just thought.
Well, no, that is. I can tell you from the shot, the video I saw, I would have been, even if that happened in an emergency room, I don't know if they would have been able to. And yeah, someone just pointing out here, they just announced on CNN that Charlie Kirk is dead.
Yeah. And I'm just, it's a repost. But when the president makes that announcement and given his connection to the situation, I'll take that as official word. And, but again, to your point, and I'm sorry.
And by the way, don't please interrupt. In that case, here's the thing about, I understand what you're saying. There are always alternate consequences, but as we are in this shooting crazy world that we're in, there isn't any connecting other thing. There isn't, sometimes it's a guy on the left, sometimes it's a guy on the right, sometimes it's a person who's religious, sometimes it's a person who's not religious, sometimes it's a person who's got this religious faith and someone else religious faith and no religious faith. It is straight people and gay people and transgender people. It's this. There are all these different factors, and it is impossible for us to be able to corral gun violence in any other way, shape, or form outside of saying there are this multitude, and mental health issues are a big part of it, but not universally a big part of it. The only thing that connects every one of these shootings is the guns. It's the only things that connect it all. And that's why I said, I understand what you're saying, but no one else is doing anything else. I mean, as we identify these other problems, no one's doing anything else for mental health awareness and stuff like this. We can't get these things done. But we can say that no matter what, it's access to guns is why we're having all these shootings.
Well, and again, and you and I have nuanced conversations on this topic, which I think is important and healthy. Okay. And so I understand what you're saying. My fear is that there are so many who on both sides who think, well, it's a flip of a switch. It's just this or this. All right, how about this? And I don't mean to use this. Well, okay, I'll change the analogy. So let's say that I have a water pipe and it's leaking, and I wrap it in some kind of tape of some kind to stop the water from leaking. That's not a permanent fix. It's not a total fix. But if I put a little bucket under the leaking pipe with the wrap around it, I might have made the situation better. And that's sort of what you're talking about here. There's one common thread. It's not the only thing, but how about we start with something? How about we stop the leaking?
Exactly. I mean, we didn't stop all shootings when we had the assault weapons ban, but we stopped a lot of them. More on this when we come back. Jeff Stein joining us. It's the Matt McNeil Show.
Get ready for the music event of the season. Powderhorn Porch Fest returns Saturday, September 20th, 4 to 10 p.m. for another legendary evening of 13 epic performances across 3 uniquely Powderhorn Porch stages featuring genres from hip-hop, R&B, surf punk, Latin folk, and more. Powderhorn Porch Fest spans 2 blocks on 17th Avenue South between 32nd and 34th Street. KRSM will be spinning beats with the diverse sounds of the South Side all night long. Treat yourself to Minneapolis' favorite food trucks, then grab a refreshing cold drink at the Beer Garden. The festival's family-friendly by day with activities for kids and an unforgettable celebration for adults after dark. Best of all, Powderhorn Porch Fest is free to attend with proceeds supporting the community programs of Powderhorn Park Neighborhood Association. Don't miss out on this one-of-a-kind music and community celebration. Powderhorn Porch Fest, September 20th, 4 to 10 p.m. Details at ppna.org/porchfest.
Greg Bakken here. I've told you about the out-of-the-world roast beef sandwiches at Maverick's Real Roast Beef, but I haven't told you about their Philly steak sandwiches, turkey bacon avocado sandwich, BLT, crispy chicken, fish sandwiches, brisket, or pulled pork. Okay, you get the idea. They make a lot of delicious food to the same standard as their famous roast beef sandwiches, and now I'm starving. I'm going to go to Maverick's Real Roast Beef off Lexington and Roseville, and you need to go too. Check out their menu at mavericksbeef.com.
End-of-life decisions are not easy to make. Hi, I'm Mary T. of Mary T. Hospice Care. It's important to make sure that this difficult time is meaningful and comforting to you and your loved ones. Our hospice team provides an individualized program of physical, emotional, spiritual, and practical care so your loved one is comfortable and not in pain. At Mary T. Hospice, we understand that choosing the right hospice care provider can be overwhelming, but we're here to assist you. Learn more today at marytinc.com.
Hi, I'm Scott Shambot from Shambot Family Dentistry. We're the fear-free, shame-free dental office. If you're having a dental emergency, we'll try and get you in the same day you call because we don't like to see anyone in pain. And we'll help you get through every appointment in the most pain-free way possible. As my daughter Rachel says,
if you don't see my dad, please see another dentist. Take care of your teeth because they're the only ones you get.
Shamblat Family Dentistry in Hopkins and St. Paul. Find them online at shamblatfamilydentistry.com or call 1-800-FIX-MY-TEETH.
I'm Rachel Schroman, owner of Schroman Law, and I believe you deserve information. Our firm offers free quarterly estate planning seminars at our office in St. Paul. At these seminars, you can learn the basics of estate planning from an attorney to help you determine which estate planning documents will meet your needs and goals in an efficient and cost-effective manner. You can learn more and register at our website, schromanlaw.com/events. That's SCHROMEN law.com/events.
It is the Matt McNeil Show. Jeff Stein joining us on WCPT 820 Chicago's Progressive Talk, 1150 AM KKNW in Seattle, and of course in Minneapolis, St. Paul on AM 950, the Progressive Voice of Minnesota. As we mentioned before we went to break, Charlie Kirk has indeed passed away from a single gunshot wound to the neck as he was speaking at Utah Valley University in Utah. The shooter is still not in custody at this point.
They have just indicated that he is still at large and they are looking for him. Yeah. That's a little frightening to, I saw a little video of a wide shot of the scene that somebody had taken with a cell phone. And after the shots rang out, of course, everybody went running, which, I understand that. The sense of security, the false sense of security of, oh, we got someone in custody. Well, they apparently did, but not the shooter. And then that person was released for whatever reason. So, oh my goodness. Because if that person's in buildings, if that person is hiding somewhere, I mean, that's a massive threat.
Well, and you also have to, there is no criticism of law enforcement on the scene. They're being just as reactionary as anyone else. And when you're in a cavernous, in a school zone, buildings around, a shot rings out and it can sound like it's coming from someplace. They run over and they grab the person on the scene. I can understand that. It's the same thing happened once again. The Kansas City Chiefs Super Bowl victory parade. When the shootings happened there, they just grabbed the guy and everyone was like, it's that guy. And it wasn't that guy. It was the case. Here's the other thing too. And he had security at the scene. If it's the guns are this lethal and when the second
security at the scene, President Trump had Secret Service at the scene. I mean, okay, that's again, false sense of security we all have.
Well, okay. Is there anything else in our Constitution of the original Bill of Rights, the first 10, that is so antiquated, but we still consider to be absolute? I mean, freedom of speech, freedom of the press. I mean, those concepts are vague enough to where today that the intent of the time is still there. But right to bear arms, because it is the only thing it's, we don't have the right to a shovel or something like this. It's the one thing that's directed towards a specific object. But the object at the time when they wrote that was a single shot or at best a 2-shot pistol, which I think we're still, depending on where you're at, available, but a single shot muzzle loading gun, which is clearly not anywhere in close to the intent of where this is today.
Things have been interpreted constitutionally over time to adapt to current society, right? The definition of segregation changed over the course of time. I mean, whether or not segregation was appropriate in an educational setting, it took a half century for the separate but equal decision to be overturned in Brown versus Board of Education. The way you fix this is by amending the document.
Yeah.
But what's interesting, Matt, and I'm so glad you mentioned that, because everybody says, second amendment. Okay. Both sides, right? Second amendment. Go change the document. I have not heard one serious person say, we need to amend the Constitution. Why not? Either put it to the vote or don't. Because we can amend the Constitution for other things.
Well, and can I ask you this? Do you think it's because Scalia, I mean, the Republicans' great Supreme Court Justice God in regards to his conservative interpretation, was the guy who came out and says, it says well-regulated militia. You can regulate these things. Is the notion that that gives them cover, or is, I mean, the way that he came on out, I mean, what that basically said is, no, you can regulate guns. It just is, and so the Constitution itself, there is that caveat that even conservative justices have said, especially constitutional absolutionists have said, no, that the guns can be regulated. It just is, we've created a system now where there is zero chance of that ever happening because the guns are an absolute for at least, I would say, 60% of the politicians in this country.
It is a fundraising point, both sides. This is what I'm saying. Why not go change it? Go put it out there. And is that what it's going is assassinating a 31-year-old conservative leader? Is that what it's going to take for one side to say, maybe we should take a look at the document? You don't amend the Constitution lightly. But find me another issue of our time. Well, I suppose some would say, well, if they amend it for guns, then pretty soon they'll put abortion in there. Let the people vote. That's part of the Constitution too, isn't it? The process.
Yes. Well, exactly. And, it's interesting. You go back and you look at especially the arguments and the fights that were going on in the 1910s, 1920s, 1930s on these constitutional amendments, women's rights to vote, prohibition, that sort of thing. Yeah. I mean, that was the mentality. It was, that was on the state ballot. Okay, we're going to have a new legislature. They have to approve this. What do you want? They generally went along with it. Mike Johnson, the speaker, said, this is not who we are, to reporters on this.
Well, it is, Mike. Mr. Speaker, it is.
Well, considering this happens and like I said, I actually had to interrupt this shooting with another shooting at a Colorado high school that's going on at the same exact time. If we don't stop this, I mean, isn't that correct? I mean, this is exactly who we are. That this is gun violence. This is what America has become.
And I didn't mean to be so flip about it, but when the speaker gets up and says, this is not who we are, Mr. Speaker, I have evidence to the contrary. I have a widow and 2 children today in that one incident alone as evidence to the contrary, and I could give you a whole long list of others similarly situated, sadly.
I agree with you wholeheartedly. I just think that this is when you get to the point when Newtown happened, because remember, that was 10 years after Columbine.
Yeah.
And when Newtown happened, and the society-wise, politically-wise, we made the decision that killing kids was not a deal breaker. We didn't need to regulate them. I think that this is just exactly, this is who we've become. Jeff, I will wrap it up there. Thank you very much for coverage on breaking news. And once again, Charlie Kirk has passed away, according to a post from Donald Trump. I will post the Iowa Politics Report a little bit later on. Thank you very much, Jeff. I'll talk to you next week.
Yes, sir.
All righty. Once again, thank you very much to Jeff. And a reminder, tomorrow, Friday, I'm not here, but I will be down with Patty Vasquez down in Chicago. Looking forward to that. Hour 2 coming up next.
Hi, this is Laura with Food Freedom Radio, and I invite you to discover 2 local grocery stores with a global fare. Market Fresh, south of Rosedale, carries fresh vegetables, quality meats, seafood, and a wide variety of grocery staples, all in a welcoming store. Shanghai Wholesale Market is in the St. Paul Midway area, and it's a food warehouse open to the public. Shanghai Wholesale carries more than 500 types of noodles. And frankly, it's time for Minnesotans to learn that pasta is a little bit more than spaghetti noodles and tuna casserole. There's sweet potato, bean, rice, fresh, frozen, rye. It's a paradise for those seeking gluten-free pasta. Also, both Market Fresh and Shanghai Wholesale Market seek to buy local, so you can look for local quail eggs, unique cheeses, and Minnesota-made tofu. Open the door to food abundance. Discover Market Fresh, your local Asian food store just south of Rosedale, and Shanghai Wholesale Market, your local international food warehouse north of Menards in the St. Paul Midway area.
It's Brad Friedman, your friendly investigative blogger, journalist, and host of the Bradcast on AM 950, KTNF, St. Louis Park, Minneapolis, St. Paul, the progressive voice of Minnesota.
AP News, I'm Ben Thomas. Conservative activist Charlie Kirk's been shot at a college event in Utah. Hi, Panjwani has a report.
Kirk is the CEO and co-founder of the conservative youth organization Turning Point USA. He was attending an event at Utah Valley University. President Trump posted on social media, urging that we must all pray for Charlie Kirk. Kirk is a prominent supporter of Trump, attending a White House event with the president in March of 2018.
What advice would you give to the 25-year-old Donald Trump knowing what you know today?
Don't run for president.
Videos posted to social media show Kirk speaking into a handheld microphone when a single shot rings out. Kirk can be seen reaching up with his right hand as a large volume of blood gushed from the left side of his neck. I'm Haya Panjwani.
A source tells AP a person taken into custody after the shooting is not believed to be the suspect. In Colorado, authorities say 3 teens have been hospitalized in critical condition after a shooting at a suburban Denver high school. It happened around midday in Evergreen. The Jefferson County Sheriff's Office says it's unclear who the shooter was or how many shooters may have been involved. 3 fired FBI officials have sued to get their jobs back, calling their terminations part of a campaign of retribution. NATO jets scrambled today to shoot down Russian drones over Poland. European officials describe it as a deliberate provocation. Israel carried out airstrikes on Yemen. Houthi officials say at least 35 people killed. Meantime, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu defended yesterday's strikes in Qatar, targeting Hamas leaders.
I say to Qatar and all nations who harbor terrorists, you either expel them or you bring them to justice. Because if you don't, we will.
In Gaza, the health ministry says the bodies of another 41 people killed by Israeli fire were brought to hospitals in the past day. On Wall Street, the S&P and the Nasdaq inched higher to again close at record highs. The Dow shed 220 points from its record. This is AP News.
Do Crohn's disease or ulcerative colitis symptoms keep coming back? Tremfya, guselkumab, may help, with rapid remission achieved at 12 weeks and lasting clinical remission at 1 year. Some even saw visible improvement of their intestinal lining at 12 weeks and 1 year. Tremfya is a prescription medicine used to treat adults with moderately to severely active Crohn's disease and adults with moderately to severely active ulcerative colitis. Serious allergic reactions and increased risk of infections and liver problems may occur. Before treatment, your doctor should check you for infections and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor if you have an infection, flu-like symptoms, or if you need a vaccine. Healing is possible with Tremfya. Approximately 3 out of 10 patients were in endoscopic remission at 1 year, based on areas visualized on colonoscopy, which may not represent the deeper bowel layer or entire GI tract. Individual results may vary. Ask your doctor about Tremfya today. Call 1-800-526-7736 to learn more or visit tremfyaradio.com.
Hey, it's Patrick for Zero Res. It's the start of our favorite season in Minnesota, football season. With all the hype and action this season brings, we know things can get loud and messy quick. Before you invite your friends and family over to watch the big game, you better call my cleaning heroes at Zero Res to clean up all of those fumble moments in your home. And as always, you can score a guaranteed touchdown with great savings from Zero Res this month. Carpet, tile, rugs, upholstery, every surface in your home can be Zero Resified. And this month you can get 3 rooms of carpet clean starting at just $129, plus $75 off an air duct cleaning. And don't forget about your dryer vent, too. Having Zero Res over will be a big victory for your home. You'll always come away a winner, even if the guys in the purple or the maroon don't. Call 9520-RES or go to ZeroResMinnesota.com and ask for the AM 950 special. Backward or forward spells the same. Zero Res.
Turn to Auto Technical with your vehicle donation. Even though Auto Technical is a small nonprofit, we have helped more families with transportation than any organization in Minnesota. Since '94, we have reconditioned donated vehicles so they have a higher tax benefit. Call Richard at 612-919-5526, 612-919-5526, or autotech.org.
With your AM 950 weather, I'm Brett Johnson. Look for partly cloudy skies today with a high near 73. Tonight, clear with a low around 57. And Thursday, sunny with a high around 78. The Great Wall Restaurant specializes in unforgettable Szechuan and Mandarin dishes like fish fillet and ginger sauce and beef and broccoli. Dine in or take out at 4515 France Avenue South. Find more details at greatwallrestaurant.us. Again, that's greatwallrestaurant.us.
Portions of the following program may be pre-recorded.
Hour number 2 of the show here on a breaking news Wednesday. Once again, I do want to make sure I take time here just to briefly mention. I want to thank Mike McEntee and Bruce Klopfleisch. They're going to be filling in for me in the next 2 days. And I will be on the air with Patty tomorrow night. I'm going to be down in Chicago visiting with her over at WCPT. And so I'll be on her show tomorrow and then back here for a new show here on Monday. So thank you very much to Mike and to Bruce for filling in for me. And I appreciate that. Once again, we've been covering the breaking news. And I want to actually take some time to cover both breaking news because not only are we talking about Charlie Kirk, I did want to give a quick update on the shooting at Evergreen High School. This is in Denver, Colorado's suburbs. This is coming from Denver's Channel 7. At least 3 students, including the suspect, were shot and critically wounded inside Evergreen High School on Wednesday. All 3 were transported to Common Spirit St. Anthony Health Center in Lakewood and are in critical condition, according to the hospital officials, who added that the hospital is coordinated with the sheriff's offices and the school district to contact families. The Jefferson County Sheriff's Office said the suspect, who is yet to be identified, used an unspecific handgun. The sheriff's office issued alert for an active assailant in the area of Evergreen High School at 12:40 p.m. local time. An alert urged parents not to go directly to school, and it still is an active scene. Authorities have established a reunification post down the street. Jackie Kelly, the spokesperson for the sheriff's office, told Denver 7 that officers were conducting a room-by-room search of the school to ensure no other suspects or devices were found. More than 100 law enforcement officers from around the region are on scene assisting the sheriff's office. Kelly said the first 911 call came at about 12:24 p.m. local time. And the governor has issued a statement on that one. So as we talk about Charlie Kirk, the story is, once again, it tells you how, I mean, as Speaker Johnson says, this is not who we are. It once again is, this is who we are. This is America. We interrupted a shooting, a political shooting, whether that we don't know the politics of the shooter, because, by the way, I should mention this, the shooter is not in custody in Utah. They initially had pictures of police with someone on the ground. Charlie Kirk was shot from a building, and no one is currently in custody for that shooting. I will say this comes from Grinley 47 on Blue Sky. It's a post here. This is a bullet. It's a big picture of a bullet. It's a bullet. It's not red or blue. It doesn't care who you are. Charlie Kirk was shot today. Another school shooting in Denver. It's not politics. It's guns, and they're killing us all. When Speaker Johnson says this is not who we are, it is. This is who we are now. We had a point when a madman walked into Newtown Elementary School and shot a bunch of children. And the politicians who are supposed to say, oh my God, we can never let this happen again, waited a week and said, you can never question the gun. Well, once again, as I have been saying now for years, there is only one connecting factor in every one of these shootings. There are variances, and yes, mental health is a problem, but it's not always the problem. You have shooters where mental health is not an issue. They just shoot people. There is no other combining factor that is universal in every one of these outside of the guns. That is the only combined factor in every one of these. And yet we don't want to see the obvious point in front of our faces. It's the gun, stupid. Again. I mean, we're here in Minneapolis, St. Paul. We had 2 school shootings. We had Melissa Hortman, the leader of the Democrats in the House, killed as well, along with her husband. Senator Hoffman and his wife shot. It's the guns. It's the guns. And the people who wrote the Second Amendment sure as heck never intended for this to be our society. The people who are right now planning on increased gun sales because of these shootings that are happening today, the bullet manufacturers and the gun manufacturers, they are making so much money they can buy off as many politicians as they need to make sure this never happens. And I will, once again, I grew up in a hunting family. I've even, although I wouldn't own one, would argue that if a person wants a personal defense pistol, fine. But the abundance of weaponry that is in our society, that when somebody sat down with graph paper and a pencil to start designing it, the purpose was to kill as many human beings as quickly and as efficiently and lethally as possible, is a failure of our society to the nth degree. No, Charlie Kirk did not deserve to be shot. This is just as much of a tragedy as any of these shootings. I am consistent on this issue, and there comes a point when the frustrating element of our society is to watch something that can be fixed, and the people that could fix it just refuse to see the problem. I don't know what you do with this anymore. I don't know how, we're going to have politicians come on out and saying, well, the guns, we should have been more guns. He had a security detail. There were police officers on the scene. It doesn't matter. The guns are that lethal. And as Jeff pointed out last hour, with the pipe or the board or a hammer or a knife or a bow and arrow, you couldn't have done what happened to Charlie Kirk today with any of those things. You couldn't have happened at the Annunciation Church. It couldn't have done this. It's the guns. It's the guns. It's the guns. There's no updates on it. And once again, as of right now, they have no idea who the shooter is. The shooter in the Colorado school shooting is apparently one of the 3 students who was shot. That's at least according to Denver media. They have no idea as of right now who the shooter is in the case of Charlie Kirk. And I don't understand. Trust me, just avoid social media right now, especially avoid Twitter. I'm not on Twitter. I took a brief look there when the news of this broke right before I came into the station today. But, it immediately, the amount of people who gleefully put out misinformation about this shooting that's inundated and authoritatively, they have this person in custody. They're not upset about the shooting. They're more concerned about making sure the initial statement about the shooter fits the narrative that they so desperately want. And we don't know on one side of it. Like I said, I go back to the Trump shooting at the rally in Pennsylvania. And I mean, every conservative was ready. It's like, it was one of those pesky liberals. Find out it wasn't. We don't know. But it's more about, I want it to be somebody. And it's, once again, you look at the shootings across all the spectrum, left wing, right wing, no political affiliation whatsoever. Heavily religious, no religion whatsoever. Male, female, member of the LGBT community, there's no unifying factor in any of those. Old, young, no unifying factor. Some of them are motivated by a political issue. Some have no motivation whatsoever. Some are influenced by online things. Some people just do it on their own. It's the guns. And right now, as opposed to dealing with this as we should have dealt with, not only with the school shooting 2 weeks ago, shootings in Minneapolis 2 weeks ago, but as we should have done not just with the assassination, the terror strike on Melissa Hortman, but go back in time, go to the Red Lake shooting. We need leaders who are going to look at this and say, how do we stop this carnage? Because this is who we are. I made the point, is it after the Annunciation shooting, I made the point of, is it really just going to take every person in this country being negatively affected by gun violence for us to finally realize that the few thousand politicians on the national and statewide level who basically are the ones stopping any of this from happening, to get them out of office and get this changed? This country is freaking exhausting. This country is exhausting. And no one's going to offer a solution. Not at least a solution that's going to do anything. A lot of people talk about mental health issues and stopping. I mean, you already have people talking after the Annunciation shooting, well, transgender people shouldn't have gun rights. We're not going to have any solutions. And this has got to be as much of a political issue as any other thing at this point. Because this isn't some, I don't know what issue motivates you. Consumer prices, inflation, a war in some torn, faraway place. The thing that is going to affect you far more than any other issue is this escalating carnage at the hands of guns in this country. It happens in small towns. It happens in big cities. It happens everywhere. And until we as a country decide that enough is enough, it is just going, this is who we are. And like I said, this country is exhausting at this point. 952-946-6205, 952-946-6205. We'll take a break. Come on back. It is the Matt McNeil Show here on your Wednesday.
Hi, this is Frank Brown of Minuteman Press Uptown with a question for our local small businesses. Do you want more leads, more store traffic, more customers? Thousands of local businesses, just like yours, count on Minuteman Uptown to drive sales. We make your business stand out and show out. We print everything from signage, promotions, and direct marketing. We connect you to the community. Choose Minuteman Uptown because we share your values, and we are a proud union shop. Contact us today at mpuptown.com.
The world's preeminent undead funk ambassadors are rising from the tomb. Here comes the Mummies, an 8-piece funk rock band of 5,000-year-old Egyptian mummies with only one thing on their mind, bringing you terrifying funk from beyond the grave. It's funky, it's freaky, and it's absolutely unforgettable. Catch them September 21st at the historic Pantages Theater in downtown Minneapolis. Shake it, quake it, and get your tickets now at hennepinarts.org before the mummies vanish. Again, that's hennepinarts.org.
When was the last time you had your roof inspected for extreme weather and hail damage? This is Chad, owner of AM 950, to talk about the exterior construction company I trust, Snap Construction. If you've noticed new roofing projects in your neighborhood, your home was likely hit by hail last summer and experienced damage. Snap Construction is helping homeowners like you, and they're the roofing specialists I trust. They are the most well-reviewed contractor in the Twin Cities and have a ton of positive customer reviews from homeowners just like you. Even better, Snap Construction's installations are backed by a lifetime warranty, so you know you're dealing with a qualified roofing expert. You want to work with a company that will be here for a long time after the work is done. Snap Construction has handled thousands of claims and will help you through the process. Do yourself a favor and get a free roofing inspection so you have the facts and peace of mind you deserve. Call Snap Construction today at 612-333-SNAP. That's 612-333-SNAP. Or visit snapconstruction.com.
Would you let animals pick your insurance? Do you really need to experience mayhem to get the best rates? Or how about a celebrity quarterback or fake university saving you money? There's a lot of marketing stunts when it comes to insurance, but what you really need is someone looking out for you. Call Array Insurance, and they will work hard to find you the best insurance coverage and rates. So avoid gimmicks and call Cheryl at Array, 763-504-3067 or arrayinsurance.com. Array Insurance, working hard for you.
Overwhelmed trying to make sense of Medicare? As a licensed advisor, I can help you determine your healthcare needs and evaluate your options. I'm Harvey Pearl of Pearl & Company, and I want you to have the peace of mind knowing you have the best coverage available. You deserve an advocate you can trust and coverage you can rely on. And there's no fee, ever. Annual enrollment is October 15th through December 7th. Call me now at 651-303-8889 so we can strategize together.
It is the Matt McNeil Show. 952-946-6205. The university has now confirmed that the man initially detained after the fatal shooting is no longer a suspect. They're currently going building to building looking for a suspect. The problem I think that they have, and this is one of the things which is obviously it's going to depend on cameras and cell phone footage and stuff like this. If this man fired one shot and then stashed the weapon or immediately left the building or the case, I don't know how you even begin to track this person down. I mean, they did with Mangione in New York. They were able to find him. It was the case, and be able to track him down. But obviously this is going to be something there. Of course, as we were just talking about, you're going to find your own way to spin this. MAG is already insisting this was some left wing. We have no idea who the shooter is. We have no idea. And once again, I know there are people out there, it's like some left-wing crazed individual with a gun. And of course, this is, there are people out there pushing, it's like, that's all it ever is. Okay, Melissa Hortman. Okay, no. Needless to say, they don't have any idea. And I will point out before you are so convinced it could be, there are people out there who have said that they want to start a race war. And I mean, that's the case, but it's all everyone out there. That's already pushing the narrative. I mean, Nancy Mace, who earlier today, as someone pointed out, I guess on the U.S. House floor, that they were saying gender affirming care is also technically Botox. It is breast enhancements. That's gender affirming care. And Nancy Mace lost her freaking mind at this obvious point out that gender affirming care, no, it's just she wanted to, to go after transgender people, and was screaming at somebody about, you need a nose job. I mean, this is where we are as a society. This is, like I said, this country is freaking exhausting. Now is out there insisting it's all Democrats. Democrats did this. She has no idea. But once again, yeah. Someone could kill somebody on the left, and the first thing they say is, oh, that is nothing there. You don't know. It's the guns. It's the guns. I just don't know what else to say. It's the guns. It's the guns. And this is, and once again, until we have serious people looking to have serious solutions, this is going to continue to get worse. And as a matter of fact, once again, you didn't stop every mass shooting when we had the assault weapons ban, but you had a lot less. You had a lot fewer than you have today. We have done this the gun kook way, where they basically, their whole argument was, once they got rid of the assault weapons ban, because I've been doing this for long enough to remember when that happened. When they got rid of it, they said, nope, we're not going to have an assault weapons ban anymore. Their argument was, guns everywhere are going to make us safer because you will never know who does and doesn't have a gun. Like, I guess it's the Old West. And, you like I said, there's so many lies about, the way gun culture was in the West, that they believe it was, just you stare them down and you had your gun on your hip and you took care of things. You were shot that evening when you were out having a drink because some guy walked up to you in a bar and shot you in the back. I mean, the gun violence happened constantly back then. It did not make us better. But this is the fake notion that they made, that we'll have guns everywhere, that people will have them on their hip. They'll be loaded, round in the chamber, safety off, and they have to pull the gun they can. When we had the Newtown shooting, do you remember the arguments that they were making in regards to that teachers needed to have teachers in a classroom with young children needed to have a loaded gun on their hip, round in the chamber, safety off. And we talked about it back then, about how the people were saying, well, we can't stop the guns, so the teacher's there. And I said, the whole point is, when a gunman starts spraying a classroom with gunfire, the teacher doesn't have the time, even if there is a loaded gun on their hip, safety off, round in the chamber, which was insanely dangerous, to get that gun up and get a shot and stop a shooter. That's just not possible. The whole point of that was not to actually stop shootings, but to then blame the teachers for not stopping the shooter. You see, if the teacher was just better, in the same sense as when they had the shooting at the movie theater. And we're criticizing the people who they should have gotten up and stormed the guy, as opposed to shielding their loved ones to try to stop them from being shot. We have had this argument now for 20 plus years that guns everywhere is going to make us safer. And like I said, is there anything more America today than having to interrupt a story about gun violence against Charlie Kirk with a story of another mass shooting at another school in Colorado? It's the guns. It's the guns. It's the guns. It's the guns. And if you want to throw mental health in there, because obviously, and there was a stat I was going to bring up today. You want to bring up mental health? That's fine. But as opposed to just saying, we need to do something about mental health, you need to put I don't know, in the state of Minnesota alone, probably $500 million into mental health care. And unless you're willing to do that, don't tell me you're not for stopping guns, you're for mental health, because you're not for either. You're for guns, and frankly, there is nothing on the books that really can stop people from getting guns at this point. And this is who we are. This is who we are. No one deserves to die at the hands of a gun. I fired them in the military. You feel them. You can smell the round, the smoke that comes off the round. You can feel the jerk of the gun when you shoot it at a target, and you would get it there. And it always kind of was one of those things where when I was firing these assault weapons, which are legal and for sale everywhere, when you're in the military and you're firing them at targets that are shaped like human beings. That when you're on the firing range at 50 meters, 100 meters, 250 to 300, they're targets that come up that are shaped like human beings, because it's the military. That's what the military does. And nothing drove into my mind what the design of those weapons was really about than that. Every time, being a member of the U.S. Army, having to fire at targets that were shaped like human beings. That's the purpose of all these things. You can't use them. They're not for duck hunting. They're not for deer hunting. They're to kill other human beings. And until we have anyone with some sanity in their minds that says, you know what, maybe the things that are designed to kill as many human beings as quickly as possible shouldn't be available, you're not going to stop any of this. You're just not. You're just not. All right, we'll take a break, come back. I'll try to get into Governor Walz is basically sounding like he's going to run for a third term. I'll get into that here when we do return. It is the Matt McNeil Show here on your Wednesday.
Turn to Auto Technical with your vehicle donation. We have families waiting for a car. You know, over 85% of unemployed are successful in finding and keeping a job if they have dependable transportation. A car plus a job equals a life changed. 612-919-5526. We have families waiting for a car. 919-5526 or autotech.org.
The place for live music is the Park Tavern. Park Tavern has delicious food and great bowling, and now the Park Tavern's dog-friendly patio is open and waiting for you. And make sure you catch the live music on the patio. On Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday nights from 5:30 to 8 p.m., live music awaits you with the Park Tavern's full menu available. Reservations for groups of 8 or more are recommended. And the Park Tavern offers private and semi-private spaces for small and large groups with no room fees and no minimum spending requirements. On Louisiana Avenue, north of Highway 7 in St. Louis Park, live music and outdoor fun are back at the Park Tavern.
Hey, it's Patrick for Zero Res. It's the start of our favorite season in Minnesota, football season. With all the hype and action this season brings, we know things can get loud and messy quick. Before you invite your friends and family over to watch the big game, you better call my cleaning heroes at Zero Res to clean up all of those fumble moments in your home. And as always, you can score a guaranteed touchdown with great savings from Zero Res this month. Carpet, tile, rugs, upholstery, every surface in your home can be Zero Resified. And this month you can get 3 rooms of carpet cleaned starting at just $129, plus $75 off an air duct cleaning. And don't forget about your dryer vent, too. Having Zero Res over will be a big victory for your home. You'll always come away a winner, even if the guys in the purple or the maroon don't. Call 952-ZERO-RES or go to ZeroResMinnesota.com and ask for the AM 950 special. Backward or forward spells the same. Zero Res.
Hi, this is Frank Brown of Minuteman Press Uptown with a question for our listeners. How important are business values to you? When you need high-quality digital print, it matters who you work with. You see, Minuteman Uptown is unique. We're one of the only union print shops in Minnesota providing our team with living wages and benefits. We believe in second chances for justice-impacted individuals who want to contribute to the community, and we are active in local issues. We've been in the streets standing up for racial, social, and economic justice. At Minuteman Uptown, Our mission is to connect all communities through technology-driven print solutions. An example of that mission is when I moved Minuteman Uptown to North Minneapolis. We're invested in this local community, and we help small businesses and local organizations throughout the Twin Cities reach their audiences. Reach out to Minuteman Uptown and partner with a printer that shares your values. Call us today at 612-870-0777 or visit us at mpuptown.com. That's mpuptown.com.
With your AM 950 weather, I'm Patrick Lilia. Clear tonight with a low of 57, then Thursday sunshine with a high of 77. For more than 40 years, the Great Wall Restaurant has been serving up Szechuan and Mandarin favorites. The Great Wall is located just north of 50th in France on the Minneapolis-Edina City line. Check them out at greatwallrestaurant.us. This is AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota.
It is the Matt McNeil Show. Once again, I'm not trying to bury the lead. We just spent an hour and a half talking about the assassination of Charlie Kirk, the details on it. Obviously, a lot of people putting condolences in right now. Patrick, if we do get any update, because once right now there is no suspect in custody. Sounds like the shooter was in a different building, shot from 200 yards away. They do not know who he was. Initially, someone was arrested outside the event, but that person is now been released. That wasn't the shooter. If Patrick, if we get any major news on that, please just give me a heads up and we'll bring you on in and you can give us an update on that. I did want to touch on a few other issues here, including the sign that it sounds like Governor Tim Walz has made it clear he intends to run for an unprecedented third four-year term in front of a group of 100 or so Democratic donors on Tuesday, according to two people who were there. In his speech to the Iron Ranger Bar in St. Paul, Walz said something to the effect of, "You're all here making contributions. You'll probably know I'm not going to run off to Mexico with your money, so look for an announcement." According to the source who attended the fundraiser and whose account was confirmed by another person there. He made it clear he is moving in that direction. And by the way, there is also, this is from last night, there was a statement that he made earlier today, and I'll get to that here in a second. He made it clear he's moving in that direction, said a person in attendance. The reformer spoke to 4 people who were at the fundraiser who had spoken to Walz about his plans in recent days. They are granted anonymity because they were not authorized by their employer to speak publicly. Walz has also told several people privately but definitively that he will run again, and he will make a campaign announcement next week. The Walz spokesman declined to comment. A DFL source who was at the event said Walz was thrown off by the June killing of Representative Melissa Hortman, who was a friend and governing partner. But the recent mass shooting in Annunciation Catholic Church, where the school children were gathered for a celebratory mass, lit a fire in him because he wants to prove leadership, to provide leadership during another vulnerable moment in Minnesota history. I'm glad you're running again, Governor. I'm glad you are. Despite the advantages of incumbency, the robust fundraising operation, and its natural political skills, winning the third term won't be easy. Walz would have to defend a lengthy record during which he governed during some of the states where it's crises. Pandemic resulting academic declines, the murder of George Floyd, the uprising rioting that followed, a spike in crime that has been subsided, emerging fiscal instability, and finally the political violence that took the life of Hortman and her husband Mark, and badly wounded State Senator Hoffman and his wife Yvette. Another crisis has been state government's own making. A way to fraud in public programs is sure to be a centerpiece of the Republican campaign against him. Representative Kristen Robbins, a Republican candidate for governor from Maple Grove and currently chair of the Minnesota House Fraud Prevention Committee, said Walz has allowed rampant fraud on the agencies, blah, 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 blah. Scott Jensen, the 2022 GOP nominee for governor, and Kendall Qualls, an Army veteran and healthcare executive, are also running as GOP candidates. In a statement, Qualls said Walz was first 2 terms as governor have been nothing but a failure. Recent polling suggests Walz remains popular with Minnesotans, but they are less pleased with the idea of him running for a third term. They quoted KSTP poll, which, I think we've had a history of KSTP polls being just a little bit anti-Democrat. So despite Walz's challenges, he has also enjoyed the highest highs, a surprisingly easy 2020 reelection and a DFL trifecta that resulted in a bevy of legislative victories, from free school meals to driver's license to undocumented people. That's what your focus should be. Legal marijuana, huge investments in transportation and housing. Those are your arguments. And it's also, and I want to make sure it's going to be, the soybean market is about to get annihilated. I mean, you're going to have probably 1 out of every 3 soybean farmers go bankrupt this year alone. Plus, the Republicans have basically made Medicaid, Medicare more expensive. That starts in the beginning of this next year. And everything costs more. My God, I paid my bills today. My electricity bill is through the freaking roof. I went back and looked. It is twice as much as it was last year under Joe Biden. Right now, my electricity bill, thanks to Donald Trump, is twice as expensive as it was under Joe Biden. That's something that's hitting everyone. Now, don't get me wrong. I know that there's a lot of people on the right who basically voted for this, who are now starting to say, we need help. We didn't realize this is going to be painful. And if the Democratic Party runs out and helps them, the first thing they're going to go is, let's go, Brandon. Let's go, Brandon. That's the way they're going to do it. But I don't think there's necessarily going to be a huge Republican wave coming up in this next cycle. And once again, I want to remind you that Robin's character, she says she's a big supporter of Donald Trump. Loves Donald Trump. Trump's her favorite politician. I think, did she say? I don't know if she said that. But she's a really big fan of Donald Trump. Which, good luck with that in this state. The national media public speaking tour earlier this year fueled speculation about a 2028 presidential run. But already he says he won't run if he wins a third term. The last time Minnesota voters were faced with a governor electing a third term, they actually rejected Iron Range Democrat Rudy Perpich in 1990. Today, there was an update at a school event with members of his cabinet Wednesday in Inver Grove Heights. Walls said it's a safe assumption he'll run again and waxed on about his current state of mind. I think at the end of the final decision, a big decision, first and foremost, what's best for Minnesota goes into this and been taken and then talking to our family. We're going to gather over the weekend to make sure we do that. But it's been a privilege. I'm proud of Minnesota. I'm proud of where our rankings are. I also think the experience of dealing with some of the very unprecedented situations, and I will just name it. I'm daily contact via text or phone with families over in the Annunciation. And I would just end with, we have to go and get something to make sure our streets are safer, our schools are safer, and we do some common sense things. He's running again. It sure sounds like it is. He is. I think that, his rankings in the state are not to be denied. It's the state actually, right? I think we actually dropped out of the top 10 of happiest states. We're at number 11, but that still is, if you know anything, we're still pretty good. We have generally been ranked in the last 4 years consistently top 3 on pretty much most major rankings in the positive nature. I think that he is relatively popular in the state. And don't get me wrong. I think that there's an amazing ability by Republican voters to basically watch, I've said this before, I'll say it again. They could walk into their house, find Donald Trump having sex with their spouse, and the first word out of their mouth would be damn Democrats. That's just who they are. And so the amount of pain that's being levied on Republican voters right now, well, they'll ignore that when the time comes. So, speaking of pain, I brought this up, and I want to bring up the story here. This is out of Bring Me the News, and this is not good. We've talked about when, and by the way, I got to imagine what Finstead's doing down in 1 now, because reminder, when they passed the big beautiful bill, there's like, healthcare in rural Minnesota is going to be as good as ever. That was one of their arguments, right? This is going to make healthcare stronger. Well, if you're in Southeast Minnesota, your healthcare became a lot worse. Mayo Clinics are going to close 6 medical clinics in southeastern Minnesota before the end of this year as it consolidates patient care through the region. They're cutting costs. Clinics in Belle Plaine, Caledonia, Montgomery, Northridge, which is in North Mankato, St. Peter, and Wells will shutter by December 10th, and services will be transported to nearby locations. This is according to an announcement from the Rochester-based Mayo Clinic healthcare system. These changes are part of a broader effort to strengthen care delivery across the communities. Mayo's websites state nothing. It states that noting that patients will learn which clinic their provider is moving to in the coming weeks. Mayo Clinic is also discontinuing some services in Albert Lea, that elective surgeries and orthopedic, podiatry, and endoscopy, ophthalmology, and gynecology will be relocated to Austin and Waseca. Rural and community health care across the state and the country is facing significant challenges, including staffing shortages, aging facilities, and declining patient volumes. This is a press release into the Albert Lea Tribune. The Mayo Clinic healthcare system is committed to continuing provide high-quality rural healthcare, and to do so, we must adapt. The release continues. At times, this remains making difficult but important decisions, such as consolidating services and to maintain patient and staffing volumes, modernize facilities, and ensure care remains safe, reliable, and sustainable in the future. I can tell you right now, there's no way that you can have these 6 clinics close, and that for at least a few thousand people in the state of Minnesota, healthcare has gone from a 10-minute drive to a 40-minute drive. And yeah, that's a pretty big problem. And the Bring Me the News guys actually put out a map here, and it is pretty stark at how many of these clinics are closing. Now, this is something that we've been talking about ever since they brought up the big, beautiful bill, because the way that these facilities get reimbursed for Medicaid dollars is going to dramatically change through the federal government. They just can't keep these facilities open. They just can't keep these facilities open. And if you're looking at that map, and I encourage you, I'll post the story out there from the Bring Me the News guys a little bit later on. If you look at the map, there are clearly other clinics, which when you look at it, they are going to have to are probably going to be closed here. Maybe not this year, but probably within the next few years. And just because it's going to be too cost ineffective. I mean, as Bernie Sanders pointed out with the Kennedy hearing, when they're saying there has never been a bigger spending of dollars on expansion of Medicaid, Medicare payments. Bernie Sanders pointed out, well, you cut the spending by $1 billion, from $1.5 billion down to $500 million. You basically, it's a 1/3 of the amount of money you've had. Don't tell me that's not going to dramatically affect the costs. So there's that. There's another element of the story that kind of comes around to other issues here, because there has been a real movement by anti-union forces to decertify the unions at certain medical facilities. And as I was looking at this list of medical facilities, and once again, that's Belle Plaine, Caledonia, Montgomery, Northridge, which is North Mankato, St. Peter and Wells, and then, of course, cutting of services in Albert Lea. The one thing I asked is, I wonder how many of these facilities are union facilities or non-union facilities, because there has been this big push. And once again, I can tell you right now, if you've got union employees there, I'm not saying that's going to keep the facility open, but at least you're going to have a decent chance of getting your job someplace else, because once again, you're not going to pull everyone over into a different facility. And maybe, well, the truth is, maybe the union there keeps that facility open. I can't say. So I asked the question this morning if anyone knew how many of these facilities were non-union that were closed. And I didn't hear anything back. No one really seemed to know that. But I did find some news stories here I want to put forward here. Recently, nurses at Mayo Clinic's Fairmont Medical Center voted 65-15 to remove the Minnesota Nurse Association from their facility submission, decertifying their union at this. This is from January of this year. The movement began with employee Jamie Campbell, who's very anti-union. The Minnesota Nurse Association was a very divisive force to our workplace, and I think we'll be able to better serve our patients and the community without the union. Campbell said, I'll hope the National Labor Relations Board quickly certifies the vote and the union officials respect our decision. Since 2022, several units of healthcare workers in Minnesota have moved to eliminate unions from facilities, including nurses at Mayo's St. James branch, nurses and support staff at the Mayo's Mankato branches, and employees for 4 Cuyuna Regional Medical Centers located in the Brainerd Lakes region. So And I don't know, once again, this story doesn't have to do with Cuyuna Regional Medical, which is, once again, more in the North Country. That has to do with the Mayo Clinic. But it's kind of interesting because, you know, when they're talking about that map that's in the Bring Me the News story that lists the clinics there, two of the clinics who are furthest away from the Mayo Clinic, dealing with much smaller population bases, happen to be two of the facilities mentioned in this story. Fairmont, the hospital here that decertified their union in January, and then the other one was St. James. And if you look at this map of the Mayo Clinic's facilities, these are two way out to the west, kind of central south Minnesota medical facilities, which clearly have targets on them. You're not going to have, once again, what was the vote here at this one little hospital was, 26 to 15. So that's 41 people, 41 nurses in all departments. How long till that facility gets closed down? I don't know. If Fairmont is a union shop, does the Mayo Clinic look at it a little differently and say, well, do we really want to deal with the mess with that? I don't know. I will say, of one of the facilities that did close down, the Mankato, that one in North Mankato and the one in St. Peter, I think were also affected by the Mankato area decertification. I think they were. I'm not sure I can't say for sure, but if I'm a hospital system and I am looking to close down satellite clinics that are costing me too much money, and I have to look at one that's got the unions I got to deal with and ones that I don't have to deal with unions, I can just shut it down and shift everyone else over there. Guess which one I'm going to do? If I'm Jamie Campbell and I'm at that Fairmont Medical Center, I wouldn't expect too many smiling faces towards you, considering now, as Mayo Clinic has announced, that they're putting clinics to close down. And it sure looks like if I'm the Mayo Clinic, Fairmont would be one of the ones that I would shut down. I don't know if she's going to be necessarily, I think her we're going to be so much better off without the union argument might be turning more toxic every second. Just pure speculation at this point. 952-946-6205, 952-946-6205. We'll take a break. Come on back. It's the Matt McNeil Show here on your Wednesday.
Your time is precious. Why are you still mowing your own lawn? I'm Alex Knorr, a young, hardworking entrepreneur serving the Southwest Metro with affordable lawn care. At Buzzcut Mowing, I offer weekly mowing, leaf cleanups, aeration, dethatching, tree trimming, and mulch installation. I work hard so you can relax and enjoy time with family and friends. Call today and I'll handle the rest. Visit buzzcutmowingmn.com. That's buzzcutmowingmn.com.
Hi, I'm Scott Shambot from Shambot Family Dentistry. We're the fear-free, shame-free dental office. We know dental anxiety and dental phobia are real. We'll take the time to get to know you and give you what you need to be comfortable at all times. We offer free nitrous oxide laughing gas and have high-tech options to help you feel calm and relaxed during your appointments. We'll help you get through every appointment in the most pain-free way possible. If you're having a dental emergency, we'll try and get you in the same day you call because we don't like to see anyone in pain. As my daughter Rachel says,
if you don't see my dad, please see another dentist. Take care of your teeth because they're the only ones you get.
This is Chad, owner of AM 950. I've been going to Shambot Family Dentistry for years. They get me in last minute when I'm in pain and make regular checkups easy and comfortable.
Shambot Family Dentistry in Hopkins and St. Paul. Find them online at shamblotfamilydentistry.com or call 1-800-FIX-MY-TEETH.
Greg Bakken here. Like you, I love good, fresh, delicious food. So I want to tell you about this treasure in Roseville called Maverick's Real Roast Beef. Maverick's has the best roast beef sandwiches I've ever had. Made fresh every order. Add fries or onion rings dropped in the fryer when ordered, and you have a winning combination. Maverick's Real Roast Beef has a lot more than roast beef, so check out their website, mavericksbeef.com, or check out their restaurant on Lexington in Roseville.
End-of-life decisions are not easy to make. Hi, I'm Mary T. of Mary T. Hospice Care. It's important to make sure that this difficult time is meaningful and comforting to you and your loved ones. Our hospice team provides an individualized program of physical, emotional, spiritual, and practical care so your loved one is comfortable and not in pain. At Mary T. Hospice, we understand that choosing the right hospice care provider can be overwhelming, but we're here to assist you. Learn more today at marytinc.com.
Hey, it's Mitch, owner of Junk Masters, your local independently owned junk removal team. We are not a franchise, and that means personalized service you can count on. Spring's a season for cleaning out the things you're ready to let go of. Whether it's one item or a full property cleanout, we handle it all, residential or commercial. You just show us what goes. With same-day service, upfront, no-obligation pricing, and a landfill diversion program that prioritizes donating, recycling, and reuse. Visit junkmastersmn.com to learn more.
It is the Matt McNeil Show. Once again, the main story today, Charlie Kirk assassinated at Utah Valley University as he was speaking on stage. The shooter, just getting an update that there is no one in custody right now. They do not know who the shooter is. Of course, multiple people putting out notifications talking about sending condolences, including not only President Trump, but as well former President Biden, former President Obama as well, both sending their condolences to Charlie Kirk's family. Once again, this is going to be breaking. I'm presuming there is a full manhunt underway to try to find this individual. We'll have to see, as time goes on, what kind of information they get on this. I mentioned mental health, and I did have one final thing I wanted to talk about here before. Once again, I'm going to be taking a few days off here. I will be on Patty's show tomorrow in Chicago. But my show will be filled in. Mike McAtee fills in tomorrow. Bruce Klopfleisch fills in on Friday. Enjoy those shows. I'll be back on Monday. It is guns. Guns are the problem. Guns are the problem. The only combining factor, the only uniting factor of all these shootings is the guns. That's it. That is the only thing. A uniting factor in a lot of the shootings, but not all of them, is mental health issues. And so people talk about, well, we should do have mental health issues. And I've talked about the fact that, well, what does that mean? I mean, it's like we could definitely go for increasing mental health spending. And I think we can all agree. As a matter of fact, here's a great example of this. Forget, just moving past shootings and just mental health services needed are in dire need, especially in rural parts of the state of Minnesota. Data from the Minnesota Department of Health shows that Minnesota counties that are entirely rural had 23.4 suicides per 100,000 residents in 2024, compared with only 11.5 in the Twin Cities region. That's a freaking epidemic. It's twice as many people are committing suicide in rural counties than in the metro counties. The lack of access to mental health care and more access to firearms among the factors contributing the higher rates, according to the agency. According to the 2023 report by the Center for Rural Policy and Development, the state's least populated counties had one mental health professional for every 741 residents. The most densely populated counties, meanwhile, had one for every 197 residents, the report stated. The center found out that rural areas had the highest percentage of fatalities in which firearms were used. Rural suicide rates were more than halved when guns were taken out of the equation in the report. It's the guns. That's a big part of it, and that includes in suicides. But I mean, the point I'm making here is that we desperately need mental health care, regardless of that. You're going to use that argument for trying to stop gun violence, or just as an observation. We need more money for healthcare out there. The problem is that you have a lot of people that like to talk about funding mental health care, but have no intention of doing so because they want to give that money to tax breaks to wealthy people. See, this is part of the problem. We know where problems exist. We could address these problems. We could try to make our lives better. And we just have politicians whose whole goal is to basically not. Government for the few at the expense of everyone else. I think we should definitely have a discussion about mental health spending and about guns. Absolutely. Native Roots Radio, Robert Pilot and crew are up next. Have a good time. I will talk to you again on Monday. Till then, see ya.
Get ready for the